Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode... Crap, I forgot what episode it is.
Welcome to my world.
I wrote the wrong number down on here. It's 17, not 16.
Episode 3 before.
Oh, my goodness.
We need help with all this administration.
Yeah.
There needs to be people.
I didn't think I needed a blooper reel, but maybe we will now. All right.
No, I've started doing that as well.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that was bad. Sorry. I have not been drinking today, I promise.
It is late, though.
Yes, well, it is. It is 11 o'clock. That's true, so... Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 17 of A Yank on the Footy. I'm Craig Wessels from Sandusky, Ohio, and I am glad that you're listening. Tonight I have the pleasure of welcoming two-thirds of to me, the most unique footy podcast that is out there. One that I truly admire the effort that they're going to put out a fantastic product. Something that if you are a footy fan, if you've been a footy fan for a long time, you're really shortchanging yourself if you're not listening to their show. I'd like to welcome Tim and Kaz from the Kick to Kick podcast to my show. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us, Craig.
Hey, I'm thrilled to have you.
Hey, how are you? It's great. Thanks a lot.
I'm great. It's now that we've got the right episode number here.
Yep.
I ran across. I think I started talking to Tim back even before my podcast began. And you reached out to me and wished me luck. And hey, if you've got any questions, I'd love to come on and talk to you. And I kind of was dilly dallying for a couple of months as I was getting my feet underneath me and trying to figure out what focus do I want to have. And we got this downtime with everything going on, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back and look at the people that I'd spoken to before and reach out and see if they still would like to come on. And you guys have been kind enough to join me. You guys. Why don't you tell me a little bit about, or tell my guests, the listeners, a little bit about the podcast that you gentlemen have?
Over to you, Tim.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, thanks, Kaz, man. Look, our history, our podcast is a Australian football history podcast. We've decided to focus on the past rather than the present because the majority of Australian rules podcasts really just focus on the current season. And so we went all the way back to the very first season, which was 1897, and we have been going through season by season, going through the history and the stories and, learning a lot ourselves and trying to teach people really about the history of the league and the history of the game.
We love talking about footy, and now we've found a good reason to do that. And then we got spurred on by other people listening, and now we just really can't stop.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I've listened to a couple of episodes. I actually went back and listened to episode 1 yesterday because I hadn't listened to that one yet. And, it's just setting the scene in terms of what was going on and learning the history of, I think, was it Melbourne that were called the Fuchsias? I know this was a few years ago for you guys, but it was yesterday for me. But the story about how the hoops on the Geelong jumpers were made to represent the seagulls that were flying around the harbor were just stories that somebody like me is never going to find anywhere. And I just thought it was just really interesting to see you guys do, like they say on other podcasts, that deep dive into what's going on. And you've said some people have given you some great feedback, and I wanted to have you guys on because, like I said, I think it is one of the most unique things that I have seen out there. I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts as well, but this one is, this one is fantastic, and I think you guys need to be commended for the effort that you've put into it.
Yes, it's, as you said, it's really, really grown as well from where it started, where we just wanted to kind of just talk about football because we always were anyway, to really having this responsibility of doing it properly. And we're kind of going through the process of updating a few of those older episodes as well, just to make them as up to date and historically accurate as we can.
Oh, so you're going back and doing editing and putting. Okay, that's great.
Just a little bit. Just we call it George Lucasing. Just adding
Okay.
some special features, and just
The director's cut.
In line. Yeah, just try and bring it in line with how we kind of, because we found our feet after about 10 or 12 episodes, I'd say, and we just wanted to try and bring everything into the same sort of style.
Terrific. Now, I don't remember if I saw it on your website. It might have been on your website, but then Tim, you mentioned it to me as well, that the first time that you really began talking about the whole concept of putting together this podcast, you were at somebody's wedding.
Yeah, I think that's when I first mentioned to Charlie, would he be interested in doing, a football podcast, possibly about history. I think I'd also spoken to Kaz about, the potential of using his equipment to record it on.
Okay, now this wasn't Charlie's wedding, was it?
It was not his wedding.
Okay. Because and I guess the next question I have to ask, as an American, who schedules a wedding on Grand Final Day?
It wasn't Grand Final Day. It was the preliminary final.
Preliminary final. Okay.
Final.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, it's not quite so bad.
No, I guess I did it because it's cheap to have weddings because no one wants to have weddings around that time because everyone wants to go to the football.
Okay, well, that makes a lot more sense than I thought it was going to make. Okay. But, that's... Now, do you still keep in touch with this groom?
Yeah, we work with him.
Oh, you work with him? Okay. Has he been allowed to watch a game of footy since he got married? I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was rather interesting that it happened at a wedding, and I just wanted to toss that out there and just kind of get some feedback on it. So it wasn't the grand final; it was a preliminary final. Okay.
No, it was the week that Richmond played GWS to qualify for their first grand final since 1982. So it was a big night, and the wedding happened to be in Richmond as well. So when we went out after the wedding, there was just this amazing vibe throughout the whole suburb of people just celebrating and strangers hugging. It was good night.
And Richmond did that again last year after playing GWS, but we won't mention that to any Giants fans. No. So Tim, you've been an Essendon fan for pretty much your entire life. How did you get back to being an Essendon fan?
I'll just around in the family, really. I think the story my mum tells is that I came home from kindergarten one day and I said, "Mum, I bomber for the Bombers," and she said, "I think you mean barrack for the Bombers." And that's good because half our family go for them anyway, so it was a very good coincidence.
Okay. And Kaz, you're a D's fan, D's supporter?
Yeah, and it was traditionally Demon supporters are born into a Melbourne family, but not me. I actually chose them. And now we've got the family back on track. You can't. You basically, if you don't want to go for the Demons, you better take the keys and let yourself out. And when you want to go for the D's, you can come back in.
Okay. Now, Charlie, your other partner, is not with us. So you said that you were using Kaz's equipment because you're a music teacher, correct?
Yeah,
okay,
and in our music room, we've got a few little corners where we can keep things. And
okay,
yeah.
So you guys, I was going to ask, do you guys all record at the same location then?
Yep.
Generally,
yes.
Although you're probably not doing that right now, unfortunately, because
like you, we are venturing into the world of Zoom and online podcasting, and we've done one episode like that now.
Okay, now I know that your partner Charlie, he's a Melbourne Cricket Club member. Now, are you a member as well, Kaz? Because
I'm a member of the Melbourne Footy Club, but I'm not MCC.
I am.
Like I. Yes, you are, Tim.
Well, do you guys Let me ask you this question: Is it what's the difference for somebody who doesn't know, like myself, who doesn't know the difference between, I understand the whole being a member of the footy club, but what's the big step to being the cricket club? Because
Great question.
From what I've looked at,
Yeah.
from what I looked at on their website, that seems like the Melbourne Cricket Club is like the umbrella under which all of the other Melbourne sports are part of. Am I correct on that?
Well, the MCC are I guess the custodians of the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
Okay.
Now, all the Melbourne football clubs they're not privately owned like in America, like in American sports. There's no franchises. And it was the Melbourne Football Club who grew out of the MCC because they played on that ground. The MCC had control of the MCG. And so, yeah, I guess Umbrella Group is a good name for that, but that's how it kind of links in, I guess.
Okay, because
And so, like, say if there's a Mexican wave happening at the MCG, our biggest ground, it'll start off over the cheer squad somewhere, which is at one end of the ground,
Right,
and everyone joins in. It goes around, and finally the section where MCC sit, which is the same place every week, in the middle of the ground on one side, the Mexican wave stops, and everyone boos.
They boo the people not doing the Mexican wave.
So why do they? Is it because they're and is that where the snobs are sitting? Is that
Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but it was
Yeah.
I didn't know if they didn't want to, were they trying not to spill their caviar or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's it.
Cheese boards.
So
I got it.
So, Craig, as an MCC member, the way it works is around September you pay your full membership fee, which is about probably between $500 and $800, and then once that's paid, that allows you to go to any game at the MCG, cricket or football. As a full member, I am entitled to go to the grand final, any other game played at the MCG. So it's a really beneficial thing to have.
Okay.
And Tim, you can invite a friend, can't you?
Not to the grand final, but to other games, you can take people. They have to pay for a ticket, but yes, you can take them.
Yeah, I just thought I'd remind you of that. That's okay.
Okay, so you guys have both kind of grown up with with your club. It's kind of been bred into you, if you will, that you're a D supporter or nothing, or you're a Bomber supporter. So how does that work out with the two of you when you're recording? I know you're talking about historic stuff, but I'm sure you're still paying attention to what's going on in the present.
Absolutely, we are, and especially because we just recorded a 1941 season episode, which is where Essendon played Melbourne in the grand final. So yeah, we've had a bit of banter back and forth.
Okay, yeah, that's right around the time frame. Was it 42? I think it was. I did an episode on something called Ostis.
Yeah. I've just been listening to that. We're about to do a special World War II episode, and that was some of my research.
Okay.
Your episode.
Wow, I was research. That's
Yep.
I think Kaz just got kicked off.
Hello, guys.
Oh, you're back.
Kazman, you're back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to interrupt your recording, but
What has been, as you've gone along through the first 40 plus years of the VFL, what are some of the most shocking things that you've learned thus far that you're like, it blew your hair back. You were stunned to learn about that.
oh, definitely some of the jumper designs are absolutely terrible. The colors, the collar designs, collars. I mean, I know it's a winter sport and they're supposed to look very dashing, but I just don't understand.
Can you
some of the scandals as well?
Such as
the cheating and the
Yeah, there was
and
a
betting.
bribery scandal.
Okay.
Yeah, in the 1910 season, 3 Carlton players got suspended for 5 years for taking a dive, for getting paid money to lose.
to lose?
Yeah.
That casts a bit of a shadow, but it really was. It doesn't seem like it was very common, but that was one particular big shocking one.
Now that was in the grand final, correct?
It was in the lead up to the grand
Okay.
final. I think it was the game
Okay.
before the 3 players got taken out of the rooms and didn't play again for 5 years.
Yeah, we had something similar that happened in Major League Baseball in
The Astros.
no before that. 1919, the Chicago White Sox, where many of the team members were paid off to throw the World Series, and they got kicked out of baseball forever. They were booted out forever. So yeah, we had a situation like that about 100 years ago, where we had a team that were like half the players were banned forever. They were kicked out of baseball. They never played again. And one of them was somebody who should have been in the Hall of Fame. That he's banned. But yeah, the Astros had the same kind of thing going on. Something similar to that here recently. But so you've had scandals. You've had
definitely had scandals. Yeah.
So what have you found to be the most like positive or uplifting stories that you've run across so far? What's kind of just giving you goosebumps, if you will, that you're...
Well, I can chime in here. I umpired a little bit of local footy for a few years to keep fit. And so umpires are, I don't know, it seems they're particularly maligned in our code. I know that they're maligned across the world, but... but there's one shining figure, an exemplar human who was, his name was Henry Ivo Crap. And hearing his story and how he was looked up to in the papers, his games were umpired really well. The players thanked him. Just something like that, was really, really interesting.
Okay, yeah. And actually, Tim, your wife mentioned that I was supposed to ask you about... I didn't realize there was a first name, because I looked for Ivor Crap, and surprisingly it sent me to Amazon to try to buy toilet paper. I'm not sure why.
It's a good nickname.
That is I mean, that was actually his given last name.
Crap was his surname. Yes.
Wow.
Umpire Crap.
We can certainly chuckle.
I'm sorry. He had to have had some broken knuckles in his life, because I'm sure he had some fights that he had to defend himself. That is a wow.
It was called the Prince among umpires. Maybe he was just born with a level head. He thought things through. He always was fair and maybe even compassionate.
And maybe
he was a bit of a...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say he was a bit of a hero on our show. We, I think the first 20 or so episodes, we'd always give an update on what was happening in his life, because he moved over to Western Australia to umpire over there. So we always had Crap Watch just to keep our fans ourselves updated on his adventures.
So now I'm assuming he has since retired in your timeline on the show.
He's since passed away. Actually, he passed away in 1924.
Okay, well, yeah, then he definitely retired. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Because that would have been some crap umpiring if he was still working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now play on. That was not a high tackle.
Yeah.
So, you've your wife actually gave me a couple.
He was also our first segment that we developed, and so as we refined of our podcast, that was really fun for us to get into these segments that we started coming up with.
Something that you come back to repeatedly.
Yeah.
I've not figured out what to do with one of those yet. I mean, my little tagline at the end is about all I have right now. So I'm still working on coming up with something like that. But it's what if as a footy fan in the present day, what is the greatest thing that you've been most excited about as a fan, and what's been the thing that has just been like the biggest letdown as a fan in your lifetime? What's gotten you so high and so low?
I've got a good one, Tim. You go first.
Okay. The low scoring, I know it's something that gets harped on about quite often these days, but just working our way through the 30s when we had kicked goal. We had Bob Pratt kicking 150 goals in a season. I grew up in my formative years in the 90s watching players like Tony Lockett and Jason Dunstall regularly kicking bags of goals, high scores. It just doesn't happen these days. It's such a defensive game. Yeah, I'd love to be able to watch a person kick 10 goals again, which hasn't happened since I think 2008. So I'd like high scores.
Okay, so go ahead.
I totally agree. the game's sort of taken on a bit of a different complexion with a few little rule changes, and then they're trying to come up with other rules to.
I think we lost him again. And we thought Chris was going to have the bad connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while he's getting back on again, which evidently he's going to be able to do that.
Yep.
What kind of David King? I mentioned it in my episode last week or the week before. David King talked about that this was maybe the time to go back and
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
That David King talked about that maybe this is the time to go back and look at trying to revamp the rules to open up more scoring.
Yeah.
And
possibly.
And I kind of made reference to what happened in the NFL here in the States when they tried to do that. And I don't know if either of you watch any football here in the States at all.
Tiny bit.
Tiny bit. Okay. Well, the receivers, the pass catchers are pretty much, they are considered, untouchable nowadays. It used to be that the defenders that were kind of preventing them, that were keeping them from catching the ball, were able to hit them and kind of have their hands on them down the field. Now, if they touch them beyond 5 yards, it's a penalty. The NFL has made it such an offensive focused game that it's almost like the defense doesn't even need to be out there anymore because there's not much they can do. So I'd said, be careful what you wish for. If you open it up to be too offensive, you're going to end up with, what are you going to say, that, the defenders can't jump, only only 5 guys inside the, the defensive 50. What are you, I don't know. But Kaz, you were saying before you had to go and, get a snack. Your biggest moment that you really liked, your most inspiring moment is as a fan.
I was thinking about something that happened between one of our players. His name is Adam Goods, and he's what we call first people, so
Yes.
an Indigenous player. And unfortunately was, in the middle of a game was, yelled at from a supporter, and they said some pretty, some extremely racist things to him, and he eventually sort of quit. But and I suppose that's a bad thing, but what's been inspired is seeing people get around him, and
we kind of lost you there for just a minute.
Oh, no,
you may need to go over that again so we can I can edit that back in then. So
Kaz, I think you were trying to talk about the 2 movies that were made about him.
That's right. I think you could go and see it at the cinema, but it was on TV. There was one on TV as well. Anyway, the inspiring thing was seeing the way people got around him after that. After the initial media didn't get it, and there was some people in the media too who were also being a bit racist as well. Actually, some of them very racist, and so so it was inspiring to see that him have a voice through all of that, and sort of seeing people support him.
Now, are those media members still broadcasting, or are they no longer working?
Well, one of them is the president of the Collingwood Football Club.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes,
Eddie Maguire.
Wow, I'll have to go back and research that a little bit because I had not heard anything about that at all. I mean, I knew the story about what Adam Goods had gone through, but I didn't realize that Eddie Maguire was part of that. Holy mackerel.
Probably just a sort of a comment on the radio. I think it was mainly.
Okay.
So yeah, worth checking out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So as I'm looking through some of the things that that I found here, and Tim, your wife shared some information with me, and you saw it because it was on the document that I had shared with you that she basically equated you, as far as footy is concerned, as being kind of like Rain Man.
Yeah, she does call me that sometimes.
Okay, well that for what you're doing with your show, that is not a character flaw. Okay, that is a term of endearment for sure. That you really have you're really in tune to the stats and that sort of thing. And and she said that let's see, she I have the quote here. She said that she had just asked you who Essendon beat in 1998 to make the prelim, and you said to her, well, the Bombers didn't make it the prelim because North beat them the week before. Dodgy umpiring cost us the game. I was there. Yeah. And sure enough, North had won by 22 points.
I'll correct her there. It was actually in the first week of the finals, not the week before.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is a yeah, she mentioned a couple other, couple players that you guys had some really good stories about as well. And again, these are names that I'm not familiar with because I'm relatively new to the game. I'm very new to the game, but she mentioned a gentleman by the name of Dick Condon.
Yeah, look, these are all these are all characters that most football fans wouldn't have any idea about either because they're that long ago.
Okay. So
yeah, Dick Condon was a very controversial figure. One of the first superstars, but like one of the real controversial superstars who told umpires to go and shove it and got into fights with his teammates on the field. He was a real character.
Okay.
And he tried to be. He was a coach and a captain as well. So and he was a good player. So it was a tricky one.
Well, if you're a good player, they will definitely put up with a lot more from you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get away with a lot more, I think, if you're a superstar, which, hopefully you can be a superstar and still be a decent human being as well.
Well, he did get a lifetime ban for abusing an umpire.
Wow.
That the lifetime ban lasted 3 years.
Okay, well, did they realize that, hey, we're missing this superstar, we need him back in the game?
I think the club kind of let him back in, and they pleaded with the VFL committee, and they let him back in.
Okay. Now, one of the other names that she mentioned, and this actually sounds like somebody who would have been in a guest star in the Godfather trilogy. Cyril Jazzlegs Gambetta. That just sounds like he just sounds like a scary guy.
Yeah,
a little bit of a crooked nose. Wears a trench coat.
Yeah. No, we one of the other segments. There's some nice birds there in the background for you, Kaz.
I'm sorry. I'm getting a charger.
That's all good.
I'm hoping those are pets.
Kaz lives out in the bush, so that doesn't surprise me. One of the other segments we've kind of developed is every episode Kaz will choose the winner of the best name of the year. So
okay,
I think Jazzlegs Gambetta won that maybe 6 or 7 times in a row.
Wow, and they mentioned she mentioned also Norman Hackenschmidt Clark.
Yes, Hackenschmidt, yeah, he's a Carlton player.
Is that another name? Is that another champion name winner?
It was, yes.
Okay.
Hackenschmidt, named after an Austrian or a Belgian bodybuilder, I believe, because he had an amazing physique.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's and funny you mentioned that, and I've not been able to convince my wife to watch a second of footy. And again, it's on at strange times here. The games are on at 11 o'clock at night, 2:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, that type of thing. So, I don't always watch them live, but I've not been able to convince her to watch a second of the games, and I went ahead and sent to her a couple of years ago a couple websites that had like the beefcake photos of the players, at the beach, that sort of thing, thinking this might entice her to want to watch. Now, her best friend wants to watch, but she still doesn't want to watch. So I'm not pressing the issue. She's I'm still able to fit the Watch AFL app into my budget every year. So, which I actually did. I actually did the membership. I actually did the membership part this year, and what was great is it actually turned out to be cheaper to get the Cats membership and then get the Watch AFL app and still get some stuff from the Cats team shop as well. That was like $25 cheaper, so that worked out pretty well. Now, I was going through your website, and first of all, I love the photos that you guys have made up to look like the old time players. Yeah, I thought that's pretty cool. I mean, now are those all good?
Tim's so creative, isn't he?
So you made those?
No, I paid someone on Fiverr to make those for us.
Okay, so but those are, do they all look a little bit like you guys? Or?
Oh, that's us. Yeah.
Okay.
That's absolutely us.
Good deal.
Yeah,
Good deal.
We pay. Yeah, we base them on some old cards, and the artists just put our faces on the top of them.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I had a gentleman who lives in Queensland who's a cat supporter, and about 2 months ago, I had an envelope show up in the mail from Queensland, and I was not expecting it. An envelope, and he actually told me then a while. He said, "Yeah, I was going to drop something in the mail to you." He found a card, like a baseball card, a footy card, from a player from Geelong from 1913.
Oh, nice. Who was it?
Yeah. You would ask me that. It's downstairs, right next to my television. I'll send it. I'll send you the name on Twitter. I'll send you a picture of it on Twitter when I get done here, because I'm upstairs in my little office area here, where it's a little bit quieter. Your wife had your wife had mentioned that you'd done some great interviews, and one of them with a gentleman that just passed away recently, Jack Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was his daughter does a great job on Fox. I love listening to her. I used to love listening to Narrowly Meadows as well, but they decided not to bring her back.
No, I think Sarah Jones is Jack Jones's granddaughter.
Yeah, she is.
Well, yeah. So we, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to do a World War II special, and Jack Jones fought in World War II and played for Essendon. So we went and had a chat to him about this time last year.
Okay.
And so our interview with him and another Geelong player called Alex Matheson, who also fought in the war, we'll be hopefully putting together a special World War II episode soon to kind of cover what the league was doing around the time of the war, because there was some pretty interesting stuff.
Terrific. That's very cool. And I let me ask you this, because I don't know the answer to this, but have you guys gotten any recognition from actually from the AFL to say, hey, to promote your show?
Not directly from the AFL, but through doing this, we've made contacts with pretty much every single club.
Okay.
There's a woman by the name of Barb Cullen who is part of the Australian Football Club History Society, and Kaz and Charlie and I got invited last year to go and present to them at their AGM about what we do.
That's great. I mean, I think that if, like I'd said at the outset, if you're a fan of footy, you should be, if you're into the history, if you've been around for a long time and you want to reminisce, well, not quite yet, because people who will be reminiscing about the 1920s, they're not probably going to be listening. Let's be honest. But as you go forward, you can learn the names that your grandparents told you about, and you can learn some of the insight. And I went through the list of the books that you've acquired, and your wife, your wife had said that you have really taken over the bookshelves in your house.
Yeah. I counted the other day. I think there's about 250 books. That's ridiculous.
That is impressive. I mean, it's I have two. I have two books on footy. I found I actually got one. One that was written by an American when they were trying to recruit basketball players to come try out and join the league.
Okay.
And I actually had one delivered the other day I haven't read yet on how to make Australian football a global game. Uh-huh. And it's a very short book, and I'm looking at it thinking, you basically rewrote the rules and hypothesized a couple things, and you charged me $9 for it. I'm not sure I'm real thrilled about that, but any port in a storm, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I if you're listening again, we're with Tim and Kaz from the Kick to Kick podcast, and gentlemen, I can't recommend your site highly enough, and I really think it's one that people should definitely be listening to. I don't know if there were any other pieces and parts of things we needed to cover tonight, but I'm thrilled to have had the two of you on. I wish Charlie could be here. Maybe I'll have to have Charlie on and see if his connection was better than Kaz's. But I appreciate the two of you coming on. This was
Yeah, more than welcome.
this was a lot of fun. I don't know much about the history of the game, so I'm gonna definitely be picking years here and there to listen to. I want to listen about the umpire crap, and definitely when we get into the World War II stuff, I'm going to want to check that out as well.
Yeah, and you probably want to listen to the 1925 episode when the Cats win, and then in the 37 grand final when they destroy Collingwood in the last quarter. They're definitely ones for a Geelong supporter to listen to.
There you go. I will definitely dive into those then. But
and I guess that's the other thing is if you're a long-suffering supporter like Kaz with the Demons, then you might get to relive some of the glory days like we've just been looking at.
Yeah. So
it really is just as good.
So I'm going to apologize about this up front, but have you gotten to St. Kilda's year yet?
We have not yet. No. We're still about 25 episodes off that one. We have a little saying for St Kilda. I think Charlie invented it that they get on a roll and they get things right, and then they sprinkle some St Kilda dust over things, and things just go to crap. And they've had some chances, and they kind of blown them every time.
That sounds an awful lot like my Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, it does.
Who are can't seem to get out of their own way.
Yeah.
Well, gents, I appreciate you coming on. I hope you had fun with this. I had fun learning about this, and I'm excited about the fact that I'm able to share your show with the handful of people. Well, it's starting to grow a little bit, but the people who are listening to mine,
it'll grow.
I'm ecstatic. In 3 months, I'm actually over 2,600 downloads, which I'm shocked by that. I never thought anybody would listen. I know I've said it before.
You're doing very well.
I thought my mom would say, "Oh, that's nice. You're trying to be on the radio," and that would be the extent of it. But yeah, this has been fantastic. Again, my guest.
Does your wife listen to the podcast?
No.
No, I don't think any of ours listen to ours either.
Which that would be. If I was, I can completely understand my wife not listening because she's not a fan of the game at all. She's never watched a second of it. But if I'm not mistaken, your wife said she's an Adelaide supporter, right?
She is, yes.
So she at least knows the game. So she should.
True, yeah.
Yeah, she should. So I'd be hurt if I was you if she's not listening at all.
Well, the Crows aren't in yet. We've still got another 50 years until the Crows join. So maybe she's waiting till then.
Right. So you're basically then focusing on once this gets moving forward, you're just looking at just the VFL, or are you?
No. We will go right up until the current season, and we actually addressed this the other day. We'll, once we reach current times, it'll just be kind of one episode a year sort of thing. Do a season review, but we've got some other ideas.
Right. Well, I meant as far as when Adelaide first started playing, since they're in South Australia. Did they initially played in was the Sandful around at that time?
Well, that's actually an interesting story within itself because if you want me to go into it.
No, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
In the late 80s, I believe Port Adelaide applied to become a member of the VFL/AFL, and all the other teams in the SANFL didn't want that to happen. So they kind of put an injunction in with the league, and it was the rest of the leagues that decided to form the Adelaide Crows. So the Adelaide Crows were kind of formed from all the other clubs combining to say we don't want Port Adelaide to represent our state.
Okay. So the other clubs said we'll band together, and so if you're going to go in, we're going to go in as well?
Kind of, yeah. And so the Sandful put in a submission as a whole Adelaide team rather than just Port Adelaide.
Okay. I had no idea on that. I had not dug that far back, and it's my history kind of begins at 2016 is history for me. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of where I am. So 2017 is kind of my jumping off point.
Still the boring years of Hawthorn just winning and winning and winning.
Well, and Brisbane too.
Yeah, but Brisbane were fun to watch.
Hawthorn wasn't fun to watch, and
they were. In my opinion, they were boring.
Okay.
That's my opinion, but yeah.
Well, as a Cat supporter, I'm supposed to agree with you wholeheartedly from what I've been told. Yes. But like I said, I'm so new to it that I don't have that built up animosity in my DNA. I don't have that hatred towards another club because, my family tree says I'm supposed to hate them. I like watching the game. I decided to support the Cats, but I'll watch any game. I don't care which one it is.
That's true with a lot of us as well. We'll watch any game.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you might like to think about adopting what a lot of people, Tim, have done, and that's take Melbourne as their second team because they're so nice.
Non-threatening.
Not threatening. That's right. No chance of threatening their actual team they support.
You know what? If I was to do that with a second team, I don't know who would be my 1A team or my number 2 team. I don't know. I mean, when I was deciding upon who to support, I had gotten it down to Geelong and Collingwood and Brisbane, so I was kind of all over the map. And I made the decision to go along with Geelong, and I mean, I like Brisbane. I think, from everything I've seen from Chris Fagan, I think his kids would run through a wall for him. He just seems like a great coach. Yeah. He seems like a terrific coach. I mean, if the Cats could figure out how to trade Chris Scott for Chris Fagan, I would be okay with that.
There'd be a lot of people okay with that, I think.
Yeah, I think that would not be such a bad thing. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. It is Tuesday for you right now.
It is Tuesday. Yes,
It's almost Tuesday for me here. But my guests have been Kaz and Tim from the Kick to Kick podcast. I strongly encourage you to take a listen to this. If you're on the fence about it, I don't think you'll regret it because from what I have heard, it's fantastic.
Yep. Can I also add, it gets better as you keep going as well. Like you said, when we first started, we didn't know exactly what we were doing. We got better and better at it. So stick with us for a few episodes.
Okay, I've jumped around a little bit. I've heard some later ones, and I'm going to go back and listen to 1925 and 1937 for sure, and hopefully in a couple years listen to the early 2000s. Get a couple of those in there as well. 2007, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, gentlemen, again, thank you so very much. And ladies and gents, this has been episode 17 of A Yank on the Footy. I appreciate you listening. And
it sounds like you're doing a great job.
I appreciate it, guys. I'm having fun with it. I still don't. I'm still figuring out what the heck I'm doing. But thanks, guys. I truly appreciate it. Have a great Tuesday.
Anytime.
You bet. Thanks. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, I honestly cannot tell you how fortunate I feel with you tuning in to listen to my show. It's extraordinarily humbling. If you're enjoying the podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd consider sharing it with a friend. Don't forget that you can find all of the episodes for this podcast at ayankonthefooty.podbean.com, or you can find it on your favorite podcast provider. Now that you've listened, I would love it if you'd consider giving me a review on the podcast host that you're using. I'd also love to hear from you on the Podbean app in the comments, or you can reach me via email at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com or on Twitter at yank_on, as well as on Facebook and Instagram at ayankonthefooty. I would like to thank Joseph McDade for the use of 2 of his great pieces of music. Mr. McDade has created some fantastic music, and I'm using the pieces Elevation and Winter's Mist. You can reach him at josephmcdade.com/music. Again, Mr. McDade, thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I'd like to thank you. And we need to remember that while we are fans of our teams, deep down we're fans of a game that we all love, and that's the game of footy. And as you're well aware, we are at a strange point in the recent history of mankind, and I hope that you and your family are staying safe, that you're able to take the proper measures to protect yourself against this virus. Be tolerant of one another. Be kind to one another. And if the media in Australia is anything like the media here in the U.S., listen to the medical and scientific experts. They want to help end this. The politicians do as well, but they tend to have agendas. And hopefully they'll help get us back living the lives the way that we choose to live them. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I kindly ask you to consider sharing my podcast with your friends and family, and may your dribble kick never hit the post. I'll catch you later. This has been episode 17 of A Yank on the Footy. My guests were Tim and Kaz from the Kick to Kick podcast. Charlie, we really missed you. Hopefully you can come back with us very soon. We can get all three of you together on the line and go through things. Again, ladies and gents, don't forget you can reach me at yank_on Twitter or at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at A Yank on the Footy. Again, thanks for listening, and please consider sharing the podcast with your friends and family.